afternoon. I'm Ben Coleman, one of your many hosts for the Florida Aviation Network, coming to you live and in the clear. We're broadcasting from the terminal at the Sebring Sebring Regional Airport. We're not international yet, but we're at the Sport Aviation Expo 2019 here at Sebring. And if we're here and you're watching this, chances are you're not here. However, you could be watching this streaming live out somewhere on the ramp, but if you were on the ramp today, you'd be holding an umbrella. However, this is what we call liquid sunshine in the state of Florida. Liquid sunshine. It's good. John Zapp's here with us. John, shake my hand.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm okay. And John Zapp, who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm just a pilot, musician, like hundreds of them around the world. I'm finding more and more every day. Started flying musicians 10 years ago, and this is our 10th anniversary. And we started a scholarship program 5 years ago, so it's our 5th anniversary of that. So we've had over 8 recipients so far, and 6 have soloed, 2 in the wings, and believe it or not, we've got several private pilots already.
John, that's a good track record for and I'm going to call you a small organization.
You are 650 members.
650 members, of which I am one of them.
You are.
Proud supporter. And we're giving the camera guys a fit because I'm talking and they're on you, and then you're talking and they're on me. That's okay. We're here for education, innovation, and aviation. We're going to aviate today with John, and we're going to talk a little bit about what makes Flying Musicians Association so important to the industry of aviation. And John, do you realize that there's a strong similarity between some of the skill and talent that it takes to fly to fly an aircraft as it does to fly an aviation instrument?
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities. How many folks do you know, John, that are very accomplished pilots and they also like to play music? Talk to me about that.
Well, the empirical data suggests that over 50% of all pilots play a musical instrument. And it's not us now just realizing the fact that these similarities exist. The skill set of a musician is perfect for the skill set of a pilot. The United States Air Force realized that when they were recruiting from college campuses around the country decades ago. They were going to the music departments, and so was United Airlines. They were going to the music departments. Why? Well, they realized it then. We're realizing it now again, and we're reaching out to music students throughout the world now. We've got our scholarship exists now in Canada. We've got a recipient up there that we've already put through the program, and this year, 2020, we'll have a program in Mexico and the Caribbean. We have a new ambassador down there, Casiano Smith, and he came to AirVenture and performed with us, and he's a very, very strong advocate for helping youth get into aviation. He's got a passion for aviation, and he's got a passion for music, and he realizes those skill sets are very, very, very similar. So,
you know, and John, just on camera too, if they'll pop back to you, I'm going to talk over your head a little bit. They're not paying attention, but right behind your head is a YAZ, Youth Aviation Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, I tell you, if we don't get more young people into this, we've been talking about this for decades.
That's true, and I can tell you, our involvement here at Sebring has gone back about 6 years now, and we have been working with the local schools. One of our members is the attorney for the school board, and we've infiltrated the school system here to get our message out that musicians are great prospective pilots, and about our scholarship. Mm-hmm. And we bring them here to this event. For the past 3 years, this will be the 4th year, the Sebring High School Jazz Band will be performing on Friday. We also now have the Sebring Middle School performing on Friday. And today, we've got the elementary school choir coming. Because, you know, a musician is not just a an instrument player, a guitar, sax, or whatever. Vocalists are musicians as well.
Yeah.
And if you write music, you're considered a musician. That is the definition: someone who writes, sings, or plays music. And so we get the word out. This year is a record year for us, bringing a number of students out. We've got 65 students coming,
Great.
just from the music departments here locally in Highlands County. So we're really proud about that.
You know, John, some people would say, when you mentioned the 65 students will be here participating, they said, well, that's not a lot. Well, relatively speaking, it's a ton. I mean, it's a start.
It is.
It is an excellent start. And, John, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you've heard the term, the STEM.
I've heard the term STEAM.
STEAM.
Right, yes.
I'm pushing for
Buzz
STEAM.
Aldrin pushes STEAM too, and it is. The arts are definitely a big part of it. And there's a story about Musgrave,
yeah.
here, a local guy. I heard that they used to do shuttle simulation flights in I think it was a decked out Lear or something, Citation.
It's a Gulfstream.
Was it a Gulfstream
Yeah,
back in the day?
yeah.
Well, he was always on that flight as a passenger, if he wasn't as part of the crew training, and he was always head in a book. And a buddy of mine was one of the techs on those flights, and he says he thought he was studying for one of his other degrees because he has how many doctorates? And so he went by and said, "What you reading?" He says, "Poetry." He was reading poetry on these flights, acclimating his body to the flights while he was reading poetry. So arts is a huge component of anything technical. I think you have to approach it in a artistic way, whether it's tactile or others.
Well, and again, science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, and by adding the A in there for arts, it makes a lot of sense. I brought this up during the NBAA, and it was kind of a mixed reaction. But I'm proud to know that there is some more movement to try and get STEM recognized as STEAM for you viewers out there.
Sure.
Help us.
I've run into, around the country, I have run into an issue with that, unfortunately, because some of the grants that were given out for STEM, they have to call it STEM. They can't switch it over to STEAM, even though they want to. I've talked to many educators throughout the country, and they said, well, yeah, we'd love to have you as a part of our process here, because the opportunity for the students is amazing, and we want to get that out to them. Most teachers do want to get opportunities in front of their students. And they said, but unfortunately, we have to call it STEM because of the grants and the
grants, and there's laws and there's statutes written that recognize STEM.
Yeah.
But you know what, John? Statutes can be changed.
They can.
Statutes can be reintroduced as STEAM, and I think that we need to keep that rolling ball.
I agree.
Going.
I agree, and we're doing it every day. And when you talk about 65 students, there's many more coming for the YAS program that you mentioned earlier here, the Youth Aviation Zone. But this is just 65 music students coming. So that's something huge for us because that's our niche. We're talking to the general public as a whole because most students start in music somewhere. They may drop out, they may not finish, but most students are introduced to music. And it's something that we want to reach them early and let them know that, hey, if you stay with music, the skills you're learning here can get you a really good job in aviation, whether it's flying an airplane or air traffic controller or even a mechanic. It's very important to continue doing what you're doing. Don't let the peer pressure get to you. You know, you are cool, and what you're learning is going to make you even cooler.
Well, and John, I learned cool at a very, very young age because my sister was taking piano lessons, so we had a piano in the house. And when I was able to sneak up and get on the piano bench on my knees because I wasn't tall enough to, sit down and play, I just enjoyed plucking out, a little bit of heart and soul, but I'll just learn by ear. But it made me appreciate the keys and the interaction and the memory skills. A lot of memory skills in music.
Yes.
And,
Yes, it
and,
is.
and believe it or not, John, I'm going to shock you with something here. There are
ready.
memory skills involved with aviation as well.
Oh,
There's memory items. Actually, it's not all on the checklist.
Yep.
You got to have some memory items on there, because when you can't get your fingers on the checklist due to the cockpit bouncing around so much, you got to have some memory items.
you know, and that's a very good point. And there's also two other things that we stress. And as a music student, you have to learn to practice. Aviation, you better practice to get good. You have to. And so that's a skill that they learn. They develop this ability to practice over and over until it's not just okay, but perfect, because that's the next thing, is perfection. A music student is, if they're told to play an A, they don't play an A flat or an A sharp. They're right on the A with no tolerance, right there. And as a pilot, if you're told to fly heading a 270, you're going to fly 270, not 272.
Climb and maintain 5,000.
Non-musicians,
Yeah.
272 is good enough. 5,000, 4,900.
4,950 is okay.
That's good enough.
No.
Well, for a musician, we are already programmed to do precisely what you're told to do.
Strive for accuracy.
And perfection.
Yeah.
And so this practice then turns into a performance that is as perfect as you can be. It's not good enough, it's as perfect as it can be. And the same way with flying. You practice, you do your flight plan, you get everything ready, your pre-flight. It's a performance. Then you go and you fly the mission, whether it's flying to breakfast or whether it's flying your friends or your family to a vacation, or whether you're flying a corporate job or for the airlines. It is a performance. You're on the whole time.
John, you mentioned the word perfection, and I want to let you know that your name was brought up in the midst of having some perfect raw oysters the other day at Gary's Oyster Bar.
I missed that.
You sure did.
But I heard about it from both you and Steve McCaughey.
Good.
So I will try not to miss it again.
We represented you well. And for those oyster lovers out there, no better place than Gary's. This is not a pitch for Gary's, but it's kind of a decent hometown bar to go to.
Well, since we're not pitching anything, I'd like to tell you about what's going on this week in California. There's 6 of our ambassadors and several of our other members are attending the NAMM show in Anaheim, California. That's a show of music merchants, from manufacturers to wholesalers to retailers, and they bring in all their sponsored artists, big names. It's a huge show. I compare it to Oshkosh.
NAMM show.
The NAMM show, yes, the National Association of Music Merchants. And it's a huge show, and we're there as a partner of the NAMM Foundation. They partnered up with us, or we partnered with them, they're bigger than we are, about 4 years ago. And we've been attending and representing FMA and networking with the industry for that, not only in Anaheim, but also they have a summer program, which is similar to Sun and Fun, in Nashville. And so we attend both of those and network and talk. And then last week, Living Legends of Aviation Awards. You heard about that?
Oh, yeah, everybody.
Do you know who was inducted?
Tell me.
Well, the one I'm most interested in is Billy G.
I did not know that.
No, it wasn't Billy G. It was Kenny G.
Oh.
The sax player.
You threw me for a curve.
I
don't
did.
know. Billy G.
Because we do have a member named Billy G who was inducted into the Blue Ridge Hall of Fame up in North Carolina.
So Kenny G. See, a lot of folks don't know.
Kenny G is a sax player, of course. Soprano sax, made it very famous and popular. And he was inducted into the Living Legends of Aviation. I think he has an otter, if I'm not mistaken. He was there, but FMA was represented too, because we provided the music for their party. And our member, Bradley Layton, is a founding member, and he lives in San Diego area. He's a flute player, a very, very good flute player. And he plays all over, and he's played at AOPA summits for FMA in Long Beach and Palm Springs and all over. But he and his group perform at the Living Legends last Friday in Beverly Hills. So we're all over the place, and the more people hear about us, and the more you go, oh my gosh, look at this, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people come out of the woodwork, so to speak, that are musicians who are in aviation and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting to do this, and whether you're at an oyster bar or whether you're in Beverly Hills Hilton, you'll see flying musicians.
And
Yep.
John, you'll be very, very proud, and this is something that's going to involve FMA as well. But when Aero Television launches, one of the shows that's going to be on our streaming channel is literally going to be musical flight, and everybody has a video or a DVD or something with an aircraft flying with some music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And the flight maneuvers are going to be kind of like Manfred in the slider flights.
Yes.
Where he times it to Tchaikovsky, I believe, is one of those.
Well, and that brings up another sad story, I have to say, is one of our members just passed last year at an air show in China. His name was Elgin Welles. A lot of you may know Elgin. Elgin's started out as a vocalist, toured the world, became an instrumentalist as well, plays just about every musical instrument, builds a lot of them himself, and then he built the One Design, the aerobatic plane, impregnated it with a bunch of LED lights, the propeller too, and did night air shows with it. So Elgin was a very well trained, a professional aerobatic pilot and instructor, and a very, very good musician, and he performed with us at several events. And I'm sad to say that he passed on. But
well, Elgin was supposed to be here at Sebring as well.
Was he?
He tried to make it every year, but I wasn't aware that we lost him.
You did not know that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
no.
sorry to say that. But he was a true flying musician. That not only did he perform his night air show, but he had a huge sound system in his airplane, and he wrote the music. And he actually recorded the music, and he set up the delay so that the lights would correspond with the delay sound reaching the audience.
Right.
So he did everything. Now this guy was into everything, aviation and music.
And the personality to boot. And that's, but you bring up we lost to Elgin, but John, again, I'm going to break another news to you. Nobody's getting out of this world alive. So I hate to break that news to you, but
well, that's a good part about organizations like Flying Musicians, is that when I'm gone, founding members, board passes on, there'll be people to step in and carry this on and keep our youth involved in two aspects of their lives that will probably bring the most joy, not only to them but to others: music and aviation.
Well, and let's coin a couple phrases here of live life to the fullest, but remember, you are going to have a legacy. It's up to you. How do you control that legacy? Elgin left a great legacy.
He did.
John Zapp's going to leave a pretty impressive legacy as well.
I don't think so.
Oh, you're not going to die, are you?
No, well, it's not. There are, if it wasn't for the folks that have jumped on board early on back in 2008, 2009, when I started the association with Eileen Hummel, who was a co-founder, and then stuck with it and helped. The ambassadors we have around the country, a Canadian ambassador now, and a Mexico and Caribbean ambassador. It's just amazing, and they do a lot of the work. I'm just there to gather all their knowledge and information and try to act on it. So
hey, there's got to be a Pied Piper in every organization, and you got to play the piccolo every now and then, just to have them come follow me.
I never did
come
play
this
the
way.
piccolo, unfortunately. But it's a beautiful instrument.
Oh,
when
yeah,
played right.
it is. As a matter of fact, talking about instruments, after we spoke, I did pull a nice brand new V2 reed and put it in my alto sax. And I was going to bring it down here, but it didn't fit into what was going on for me, because I'm always tied up with other functions.
Well, we'll get you into it, but maybe you can start a sax quartet.
Yeah, woodwinds are good.
I'll tell you what, we started, the association, Lynn Postel over in Brooksville formed a brass quintet, and two of the members are pilots, Len and Bob Schwint. This quintet flew to the DeLand show in November and performed, and they're going to be flying in here tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be good.
Friday, yes.
Yeah.
They're going to be flying in tomorrow as well and performing their music, so that not only the audience, people here can experience it, but so that the students coming in can also see it. The band students from the middle school and the high school will be able to catch that. And when I mentioned it to the high school band director, he said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear that myself." So he was even in because these are professionals. They play about 60 gigs in October every year, because Oktoberfest is huge, and they are booked solid.
Well,
Really good.
John, taking a little a page out of the playbook for Disney. Back when I was in high school, I was in a pep band, and Disney actually had us hired to walk around and different venues inside the park, just
Strolling
to do stand-up,
musicians.
strolling musicians.
Yes.
And I see that easily at these functions. But it's got to be a little soft. I mean, the V2 reed and the sax, you can tone it down a little bit. 3.5, you're gonna get some volume out of that. But
I agree.
A nice V2 reed, soft, subdued. Do I hear a saxophone on the ramp? No.
Well, you're going to hear one Saturday.
Okay.
Because Miles Reis, a bebop player from way back, he's going to be coming in to perform. He does mostly music from the 50s and 60s. He can do anything. A guy who has started his professional career with the Satins up in Connecticut and played frat houses and all over the place. Turned into a corporate pilot, stockbroker, you name it. He's done about everything, and he's going to be performing Saturday.
Is he? What's he playing?
The tenor sax.
Tenor sax. Okay.
And maybe we can turn him on to a softer reed, because
Well,
he does honk. He
yeah.
loves to honk.
Yeah.
He calls it blowing changes.
Well, time and place. Time and place. And then just like a trumpet, got to have a mute if you're going to play a trumpet and get into some of the things. And
Got to have a very good
sound.
embouchure,
Yeah.
so that you can control that sound.
My chops are a little bit flat because I've been doing some bodybuilding, John. I don't know if you noticed, but
You do look awful trim. Well,
No, I'm expanding.
Oh, well,
body.
muscle does way more than.
Yeah, and also I'm on a hair loss program as well.
Are you really?
Yeah, I sure am.
I am too. It's called wearing a
coming
hat.
on well. That's the hair growth program. That's where we're at. John, it always impresses me when we talk about future things, and we've been talking for years.
We have. Seems like it.
It's good to see that there's growth, and the scholarship program. If someone wanted to learn a little more, I'm sure that you're flyingmusicians.com. Well,
we have that, flyingmusiciansassociation.com. But the easiest way to find us on the web is flyingmusicians.org. But if you do a search for Flying Musicians, you'll find us. We've been out there since 2008 is when I started the domain. So we've been out there. Google has us well archived.
Well, in 10 years.
The scholarship program, you can go to our website, download the packet, if you're a student, have your band director or your music teacher nominate you, and those nominations are due by the end of this month, January 31st. So get your music teacher to nominate you, or have your son or daughter or your granddaughter or grandson tell them about the program. If they're interested in learning how to fly, the FMA solo program is the way to go for them. We not only give them merchandise provided by some of our sponsors like Bose, Sporties, My Go Flight, gets flight bags. Gleim Aviation has been a huge supporter. But we also navigate the flight training, whether it's a flight instructor or a flight school that they decide to go to. We help smooth the path for them. We contact the flight school, the flight instructor. We try to make this a fun enjoyable process so they will continue on. Not something that's a hit or miss. We don't just throw money at them. Yes, we do have cash award to pay for their dual instruction, but it's more so about staying engaged. And I tell every student member, we've just surpassed 150 student members. I tell every student member, stay engaged, because if you're engaged, we will be engaged.
Sure.
It's hard for us to engage with you if you're not engaged with us. And so with our scholarship, we're teaching them to be engaged because we're engaged. And then we also have them partner with the flight school that they choose and prepare a flyer. The first half is about FMA, the scholarship, and the second half is about the flight school. And some flight schools have even put a free introductory flight for all music students that come to their flight school. Some give percentages off or whatever, give them a good deal. But then that the recipient has to give that information to the schools and get it out into the community. So they learn that by giving and receiving, that's the way it goes. It's a two-way street.
Well,
and
John, as we wrap up this interview, as far as anybody wanting to maybe donate some funds to this, does it have to be in $500 chunks or $1,000 chunks?
No, not so ever. We'll take anything to help the kids.
$5, $10, $50. Okay.
Yeah, we have a donation button. We partner with PayPal as a nonprofit. We are a 501c3, so you can donate $1. You can donate $100,000. It doesn't matter. But I can tell you one thing: we are a small organization, so your money will go very far because we don't have overhead. We don't have a big building.
We got to roll, John, but we got it. Thank you very much for joining in on this interview. We're going to see you the next one.